The Gambia, Africa's doorway to history, heritage, and humanity. Part 1. The Gambia today. On the western edge of Africa, where the Atlantic Ocean meets the mouth of the Gambia River, a small nation opens its arms to the world. The Gambia, the smallest country on mainland Africa, wrapped almost entirely by Senegal, and stretched like a ribbon along the Gambia River. In Banjul, the capital city, open-air markets fill with color and sound. In Serekunda, the rhythm of daily life quickens as merchants, families, and travelers pass beneath bright fabrics and hand-carved art. Along the Gambia River, fishermen push wooden boats into calm water at sunrise, and children wave from riverbanks lined with mangroves. Beaches near Kololi and Kotu glow in the late afternoon light as waves roll in from the Atlantic. Welcome to the Gambia today, intimate, vibrant, unforgettable. For the heritage traveler, this is where footsteps find memory. For the global explorer, this is where discovery begins. Part 2. The Dark Continent Myths. For centuries, the world repeated a story that was never true. The world called Africa the Dark Continent. The world said Africa was unknown, dangerous, backward, and empty of history. The world told itself that Africa had little to teach, little to offer, and little to remember. But that was not true. That was a mask. The darkness was never Africa. The darkness was the world's refusal to see. Here is the truth. Africa is light. Africa is knowledge, artistry, trade, community, faith, resilience, and brilliance. The phrase dark continent was a myth shaped by outsiders who wanted mystery instead of reality, silence instead of testimony, and erasure instead of memory. We lift that mask and break that myth. For the heritage traveler who has heard only silence, the story opens. For the global explorer who seeks what is real, the path clears. Part 3. Africa's Hidden Truths. Africa is the beginning of us all. Human ancestry traces back to African soil, to peoples who learned, traveled, traded, sang, sculpted, and built. Across the Sahel and the Savannah, kingdoms rose and flourished. The Ghana Empire, the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, networks of trade, governance, culture, and law. In cities like Timbuktu, scholars copied books by hand, taught astronomy, medicine, jurisprudence, and philosophy, and safeguarded libraries. Artisans cast metal, carved wood, dyed cloth, and told history in pattern and song. Communities honored elders and planted wisdom in the next generation. These are not footnotes, these are foundations. When the world said there was only wilderness, Africa answered with architecture. When the world said there was only chaos, Africa answered with order. When the world said there was only darkness, Africa answered with light. For the heritage traveler, this truth restores dignity to memory. For the global explorer, it turns curiosity into respect. Part 4. Africa and America. A shared story. Africa's story does not stop at Africa's shores. Along the Atlantic coast, ships once anchored and lives were torn apart. From river towns and coastal villages, millions were forced into the Middle Passage. The Gambia River, calm on the surface, carried boats laden with grief, families separated, names erased, languages silenced. Yet even in chains, people carried memory, music, prayer, and defiant hope across the ocean. Generations later, that hope speaks. The world heard part of this story through Alex Haley's Roots, the saga of Kunta Kinteh from the Gambia and his descendants in America. The island once called James Island, now named Kunta Kinteh Island, remains in the Gambia River with stone ruins that hold testimony in their walls. To walk there is to feel history under your feet. To look across that water is to understand that Atlantic currents carry sorrow and strength at once. For the heritage traveler, this is a bridge back to ancestors. For the global explorer, it is an invitation to witness, to listen, and to honor. Part 5. The Gambia through colonization and independence. The Gambia's geography is destiny and story. The Gambia River runs deep into the interior, and along this river traders established outposts. Over centuries, British control grew, drawing borders and imposing rules that served distant interests. Schools changed languages, laws rearranged customs, trade routes were redirected. Through it all, Gambian communities guarded their identity in music, in family, in faith, and in everyday kindness. In 1965, the Gambia raised its own flag and stepped into independence. Since then, the country has navigated challenges familiar to nations across the world: how to grow without forgetting, how to modernize without surrendering soul, how to welcome visitors while protecting home. The Gambia remains small on the map and large in spirit. For the heritage traveler, this story frames the journey with context. For the global explorer, it adds depth to every conversation and every street you walk. Part 6. The Gambia's Living Culture. The Gambia's culture lives in the sound of drums in village squares and in the call to gather for celebration. In Mandinka, Wolof, Fula, Jola, and other languages, greetings travel like sunlight across a courtyard. Peace to you, welcome, sit and share. Markets in Banjul and Serekunda stack with woven baskets, bright wax prints, beads, spices, shea butter, and fresh fish on ice. At Tangi Fish Market near the Atlantic, boats land at sunset and the shoreline becomes a theater of color and motion. In the interior, near the River Gambia, the evening air carries birdsong and the chatter of monkeys among the trees. Food is hospitality made visible. Rice and fish arrive with tomato stew or peanut sauce, flavors layered with ginger, garlic, and pepper. Tea pours, slowly, sweet and strong, shared with patience and stories. Elders speak under the shade of a baobab tree while children chase each other through dust that glows in the late light. This is the Gambia you can feel with your senses, a place where time is measured in conversation and care. For the heritage traveler, every drumbeat echoes continuity. For the global explorer, every meal tastes like belonging. Part 7. The Gambia Experience, a week of discovery. Imagine arrival day in Banjul, stepping into warm air and warmer smiles. You settle into accommodations that blend comfort with Gambian design. The first morning, the Gambia River glides past as if it is guiding you forward. Your week unfolds with intention. You walk a bustling market in Banjul, where vendors call out greetings and fabrics ripple in rows of color. You visit a traditional village where elders welcome you with stories and drummers start a rhythm that lifts your steps. You cross the river by boat toward Kunta Kinteh Island and place your hand on stone walls that witnessed human endurance. You drift along the Gambia River at dusk as birds return to roost and a quiet peace settles over the water. You explore heritage sites protected for the world to remember. You listen to a griot sing history, a living archive carried in voice and melody. You share meals with families who cook with pride and serve with love. If you are the heritage traveler, each day reveals another thread that ties past to present, ancestor to descendant, name to narrative. If you are the global explorer, each day adds a layer of understanding, the difference between seeing a place and being welcomed into it. Part 8. Nature. Along the Gambia River upstream, the River Gambia narrows and bends between green banks where wildlife finds refuge. In River Gambia National Park, islands and forests shelter animals that move in the shade and slip into the water with barely a ripple. The river reflects sky and time, and the pace of the day slows until you notice small things: the pattern of a bird's flight, the way a fisherman reads the current, the sound of wind through tall grass. For the heritage traveler, nature becomes a sanctuary for reflection. For the global explorer, it becomes a classroom without walls. Part 9. Debunking, reframing, reclaiming. Let us state the myth and answer it with truth. The world once said Africa was a blank space on the map. The truth is that Africa was a library, a marketplace, and a workshop for ideas. The world once said Africa had no history worth remembering. The truth is that Africa's history lives in manuscripts, in architecture, in oral tradition, and in the shaping of the modern world. The world once said the Gambia River was only a route for trade and transport. The truth is that the Gambia River has always been a lifeline for culture and community, and it is now a path for return, for learning, and for reconciliation. For the heritage traveler, myth-busting is restoration. For the global explorer, myth-busting is respect in action. Part 10. The Gambia in the African picture. Zoom out and see the Gambia within Africa's vast mosaic. From the Sahara to the Cape, from the Congo Basin to the Rift Valley, the continent holds languages, faiths, cuisines, art forms, and ideas that have shaped continents. Yet the Gambia, small and welcoming, offers something intimate, a place where the scale of the story fits the steps of a traveler. In a week, you can stand at the river, walk in markets, listen to storytellers, and learn names you will remember. In a week, you can collect experiences that feel personal rather than distant. The Gambia is a doorway into Africa that opens gently and fully. For the heritage traveler, the doorway leads home. For the global explorer, the doorway leads deeper in. Part 11. People, hospitality, and everyday life. What most travelers remember is not a single monument, but a conversation. A shopkeeper explaining the meaning of a pattern on cloth. A fisherman laughing at the splash that caught your shoe. A child shy at first who then grabs your hand. A host who says you are family now and means it. Everyday life in the Gambia is the reason visitors return. Hospitality is not a performance, it is a value, it is a practice, it is a way of living that says you matter here. For the heritage traveler, this hospitality becomes inheritance. For the global explorer, it becomes the heart of the journey. Part 12. Preparing your own journey. Picture your first steps onto the streets of Banjul with the hum of a market ahead. Picture your seat on a boat moving slowly up the Gambia River as the sun lowers toward the horizon. Picture your hand resting on stone at Kunta Kinteh Island while you breathe and listen. Picture a night in Serakunda, hearing music drift from a courtyard as tea is poured again and again and again, each glass a little sweeter than the last. If you are the heritage traveler, you are not only visiting a place, you are meeting your story. If you are the global explorer, you are not only collecting images, you are receiving a welcome that transforms a trip into a relationship. Part 13. Invitation. Africa is not the dark continent. Africa is the luminous beginning of humanity. The Gambia is not simply a point on a map. The Gambia is a doorway that opens onto history, heritage, and humanity. The river still flows, the markets still sing, the island still stands. The people still welcome. Come and see, come and listen. Come and walk where stories began and where new stories are ready to be written with your footsteps. The question is not why you should go. The question is how this journey to the Gambia will change you when you do. And when you return, the question becomes how you will share what you found so that others can find it too. For the heritage traveler, the path is ready. For the global explorer, the adventure is waiting. The Gambia is calling. Answer with your life.